Hey everybody, thank you for checking out my latest video. This video will be about Michael Jerome Cypher. Michael Jerome Cypher was an American priest who went to Honduras in 1973 and was killed by members of the Honduran military in 1975. The reason I'm making this video is there's no YouTube videos about him at all. So I decided that I was going to act and be the first one to make a video on him, talking about his life and making sure that he's not forgotten, his sacrifice. So let's get into learning more about the life of priest Michael Jerome Cypher. The martyrdom and killing of Michael Jerome Cypher will always demonstrate the risks involved when going on a foreign mission trip. Foreign mission trips are very important. Becoming a full-time missionary is a special honor in Christianity, in going and spreading the good news of Christ to all the world. But there are risks involved in it, and you can lose your life. And Michael Jerome Cypher is an example of this. Michael Jerome Cypher was born in Wisconsin in 1941. And after the 8th grade, he ended up going to a minor seminary to become an eventual priest. He ended up graduating from Loyola University in 1964, and he became an ordained priest in 1968 at the age of 27. And he served as an associate priest at some churches, including one in Hermosa Beach, California, Our Lady of Guadalupe Cathedral in Hermosa Beach, California. The life of Michael Jerome Cypher changed in 1973 when he felt called by the Lord to travel to the Central American nation of Honduras. He packed up his bags and flew to Honduras to become a full-time missionary in that country. At that time in the 1970s, Central America was very turbulent and going through a lot of extreme political violence, and Honduras was no exception. At the time, Guatemala, Nicaragua, El Salvador, and Honduras were all under military dictatorships at the time. Guatemala was in a civil war from 1960 to 1996. Nicaragua was going through a revolution in the 1970s, and El Salvador was on the path to civil war in the 1970s. So things were very tense also in Honduras. To give some context, in Honduras there were 3 military coups that happened in that country. One in 1972, a second coup in 1975, and there was a third coup in 1978 where different military generals took turns betraying and overthrowing each other. General Oswaldo Lopez came to power through a military coup, and then in 1975 he was overthrown by General Juan Melgar Castro, and then in 1978 General Policarpo Garcia overthrows General Juan Melgar Castro. So it was a very turbulent time in Honduras. The other things going on were tensions between wealthy landowners and peasant farmers. Land redistribution was a very touchy issue, and still is, honestly, in Central America. And in the case of Honduras, rich, wealthy landowners were able to rule hand in hand with the military dictatorship, and the majority of the rest of the people were very poor peasant farmers, and they were unable to own their own land, trying to form a union was met with severe repression. The Catholic Church in Honduras was starting to get involved in liberation theology and social justice work. The Catholic Church in Latin America, including in Honduras, started wanting to align themselves with the poor and the plight they were going through and wanting to be a voice for them and helping them organize themselves and help them have a voice. And the rich of Honduras, as well as the military rulers, viewed this as a threat. And this is the atmosphere that Michael Jerome Cypher entered when he went to Honduras in 1973. When Michael Jerome Cypher came to Honduras, he settled in Olancho, Honduras, and wanted to minister to poor villages in Olancho, Honduras. According to his biography and some articles on him, he had difficulty in learning Spanish, but tried his best. And he wanted to minister to the poor and help with food distribution and whatever other needs he can help with the poor villagers in Olancho, Honduras. He was not politically active. And despite all this, he ended up getting killed. So in 1975, a group of farmers in a village in Olancho, Honduras, were meeting and trying to organize a union in possible strikes. And wealthy landowners and members of the Honduran military conspired to massacre these farmers and anyone else at this meeting. And in this massacre, the Honduran military threw farmers alive in bread ovens. And they also killed a Colombian priest who was visiting named Ivan Bentoncourt. Michael Jerome Cypher arrived at this village not knowing what was happening and drove in his Dodge pickup truck. And when he arrived, members of the Honduran military arrested him, and he was taken to jail, and the Honduran military interrogated him, questioned him, and tortured him. They tortured him so much that they killed him, and then they threw his body into a well. After this horrific massacre, it was revealed that one of the authors of this massacre was a man named Manuel Zelaya, a wealthy logging timber baron in charge of logging and timber in Honduras, who is the father of former Honduras president Manuel Zelaya, his son, who was overthrown in 2009. The soldiers responsible for these horrible killings were put in jail for 1 year and then given amnesty and able to be released from prison. So there was really no punishment at all for these horrific crimes. And any other foreign priests in Honduras ended up actually fleeing Honduras after this horrific massacre in fear for their lives. Many wealthy barons, landowners in Honduras actually put out a bounty for killing other foreign priests, including American priests. The response from the U.S. government was basically nothing. The U.S. government did not punish the Honduras military for killing a U.S. citizen. The U.S. went on with business as usual policies. In fact, 8 years later after this massacre, the U.S. ended up opening up a military base in Honduras in 1983. The killing of church clergy and others in the church was not just unique to Honduras. This happened elsewhere. in Latin America, especially during the 70s and 80s. It happened in Guatemala. It happened in El Salvador. It happened even in places like Colombia and Peru and so forth, and even Haiti.